where we left off. Yesterday in your particular class, we did A. We did finish B. Okay. I don't remember, not all my classes have finished B yesterday, but with that in mind, you know, the work is here. You guys said you guys did finish it, though. So I guess if anyone's listening to this video and wants to see the rest of B, it is in the previous video, because I know this is the class I recorded yesterday. One thing I will watch for here, negative x squared, right? Don't try and factor negative x squared. Multiply by negative 1 to get it that way. Okay, well, let's jump to C. Okay, first of all, take a peek at those denominators. Can anything factor? My denominators are what? X minus 2, x minus 2, do they factor? No. So with that in mind, I've been asking you guys, what is your least common denominator? Well, there's only one denominator, right? So least common denominator is x minus 2. Once you know that least common denominator, remember we're taking all the pieces and multiplying by that least common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the left by x minus 2. I'm going to multiply the right by x minus 2. You can write out as little or as much work as you want to on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show the multiplying by each part. So the first part, I'm going to start by multiplying by x minus 2. So the left 5x over x minus 2 is going to be multiplied by x minus 2. I'm going to take the 7, and guess what I have to multiply the 7 by? X minus 2. It doesn't matter that it's not a fraction. It is still a term in this problem, so it gets multiplied by x minus 2. Plus, I'm going to multiply the 10 over x minus 2 by what? X minus 2. Okay. Look at each piece. Look for canceling. What cancels with my first piece?
X minus 2.
X minus 2 cancels with x minus 2, leave me with 5x. What cancels with the second piece? Neither of them are fractions, are they? Other than putting them over 1, so does anything cancel with that next piece? No. What could you go ahead and do here if you wanted to? If nothing cancels, could we go ahead and multiply?
Yep.
Yeah. What is 7 times x minus 2?
7x.
Okay, distribute. And you're going to have 7x minus 14. Plus, second piece. What cancels?
X minus 2.
X minus 2 cancels, or third piece, I guess. What remains? 10. Kind of unusual for algebra 2, but there's not even any x squared in this problem, are there? Enjoy it while you can. Let's clean up the right. So 5x equals 7x. What's minus 14 plus 10? Minus 4. How do I solve?
Subtract 7x.
Yeah, we want to get our x's on the same side. So subtract 7x. 5x minus 7x is negative 2x. 7x minus 7x cancels, and I'm left with negative 4. And how do we solve? Negative 2x, so divide by negative 2. And x is 2. What's my last step on these problems? Check for extraneous solutions. Do I have any extraneous solutions? Can my denominator equal 2? My denominator cannot equal 2, can it? Right here, remember doing restrictions on the variable? We get those by setting our denominator equal to 0. We're right there. Because of this denominator, x cannot equal 2. So what's that mean? That's not an answer. Do I have any other answers to use?
No.
No. So what am I going to say? No solution. Now keep in mind, guys, on a test, on a worksheet, I shouldn't ever just see no solution without some proof, right? My proof is I worked and got 2, and then, oh, 2 would make my denominator equal to 0. So that's a problem. Okay? Okay. Questions on C? Let's try D. As you look at your denominators in D, and we start thinking about common denominator, what do you notice here?
The denominator on the product.
Okay. Do any of my, always factor, right? Do any of these denominators factor? Yeah, what do you know about x squared minus 9?
It's x
X plus
plus 3.
3, x minus 3, right? So that replaces that x squared minus 9, if you will. Coincidence that those match up? Not really. Design of the problem. So, least common denominator. Look for anything in common. What kind of in common pieces do I have?
X plus 3 and x minus 3.
We have an x plus 3. We have an x minus 3. Anything else? Have I accounted for all pieces? Yeah, I've used all pieces. So my least common denominator is x plus 3 and x minus 3. And that's what I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by. I'm going to multiply by x plus 3, x minus 3. X plus 3, x minus 3. And again, you might be at a point where you don't feel like you have to write this full first step out. I'm going to write it out for demonstration. So I'm going to take each piece. So I'm going to take the x over x minus 3. And it's going to be multiplied by what? X plus 3 and x minus 3. Plus, I'm going to take this 2x over x plus 3. What am I going to multiply by? X plus 3, x minus 3. Equals. On the right, I have 18 over x plus 3, x minus 3. What are we going to multiply by? X plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, and again, if you can get to this next step without writing all this out, that's fine. To each their own at this point. Okay, are you ready? First fraction, what cancels? X minus 3 cancels with x minus 3. What remains? X and x plus 3. I'll multiply my next step. Okay? But there's an x and an x plus 3. Second fraction. What cancels? X plus 3 cancels. What remains? 2x and x minus 3. Third piece. What cancels? X plus and minus 3, leaving me with 18. Okay. If you haven't already, now is when I would suggest we see some parentheses. We need to multiply. So x times x plus 3 is going to be x squared plus 3x. 2x times x minus 3 is going to be 2x squared minus 6x equals 18. Okay, what can I do? Like terms? X squared plus 2x squared is?
3x squared.
3x squared. What else? 3x minus 6x is minus 3x. Can we do something else at the same time here? Are you guys okay with this? What do I need to make this equation equal to?
0.
0. I see x squared's x's and a number. I'm going to be thinking make this equation equal to 0, so I'm going to go ahead and move my 18. So I'm going to
Subtract the 18.
subtract 18 over. So I have minus 18 equals 0. What do you see? Be smart. GCF of 3, yes? Otherwise you have to do product of AC, guys, or slip and slide. No one wants to do that unnecessarily. So GCF of 3, if we divide these all by 3, x squared minus x minus 6. The 3 stays out front. How do I factor x squared minus x minus 6? 2 parentheses, right? X squared is x times x. How do you multiply to get negative 6 and add to be negative 1? 3 and 2, specifically negative 3 and positive 2. Okay, now as I finish up this problem, what do I need to do? Set each factor equal to 0. Now, does this 3 out front need set equal to 0? No, it does not. Okay, because it does not have a variable. It does not have an x. So the pieces you're worrying about are x minus 3 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. If you solve each of those, what are we getting for solutions? Add 3 and we're going to get a solution of 3. Subtract 2 and we get a solution of negative 2. And yeah, do either of these match up with our restricted variables? Yeah, what do we know? X would not be able to equal
3.
3. If x cannot equal 3, 3 is not an answer. What's that leave me with?
Negative 2.
The negative 2. Okay? Watch out for those variable restrictions. I don't know if there's as many in the homework as what we're seeing here, but they're going to happen. So watch out for them. Okay. We've got 2 more. And actually, these last 2 go pretty quick, I think. You ready? Okay. E. What do you notice about least common denominator? Least common denominator is x minus 3, yes? Does anything factor? No. Do I already have a common denominator? Yeah. So we're going to take x minus 3 and multiply it by everything. So write it out as much or as little as you want. That first term, do we multiply x minus 3 to it? We certainly do. So we're going to have to take x and multiply it by x minus 3. Plus, we're going to take the 6 over x minus 3, and we're going to multiply it by what? X minus 3. And equals, on the right side, we're going to take 2x over x minus 3 and multiply by x minus 3. So each term is multiplied by x minus 3. On the first one, what cancels? Nothing cancels, does it? X wasn't even a fraction. So how do I multiply these on the first piece?
Distribute.
We're going to distribute. X times X is X squared. X times minus 3, minus 3X. Second piece, what cancels? X minus 3 cancels. What remains? 6. On the right, what cancels? X minus 3, what remains? 2X. You got all your pieces? I see X squared, I see X's, I see numbers. Make this equation equal to 0. How am I going to make this equal to 0? Subtract 2X. Where am I subtracting 2X over here from? That minus 3X. Subtract it from its like term. So X squared minus 5X plus 6 equals 0. And I feel like saying same old, right? We're going to factor. X squared is X times X, multiplying to be 6, and adding to be negative 5. Minus 3, minus 2 is what I assume was said. And of course, set each factor equal to 0. X minus 3 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. We get solutions of 3 and 2. Good? Good, except that. Okay. 3 would make this denominator 0, wouldn't it? 3 minus 3 is 0. I can't have a denominator of 0. So that's why my restricted variables, 3 does not work, but 2 does. Okay. One more. It's a little different looking, isn't it? I kind of like it. What's my least common denominator? The only denominator is X plus 5. What do we do with that? We are going to multiply by X plus 5. Well, since there's only one fraction on the left and one fraction on the right, I'm not going to write it all the way out again. What happens on the left? X plus 5 cancels, leave me with X squared. On the right, what happens? X plus 5 cancels, leave me with 25. Haven't solved anything like this recently. How do we solve? So one option, subtract 25, and then what are you going to do? Factor it. Do we remember the other option? Could we just take the square root right here? We can't, and both are good, guys. Both are perfectly legitimate and good. I'm going to mention the square root, though, because I want to remind you of something. So if we take the square root, what's the square root of X squared? Square root of X squared is X. What's the square root of 25?
5.
Okay. What you have to remember is that if you're taking the square root in an equation setting, it's plus or minus 5. What do you know here? Yeah, looking at our original denominator, it can't equal negative 5, so my actual only solution is positive 5 in this case. The negative would be a no-go. Now, side note, it was mentioned that could you have subtracted the 25 over and said X squared minus 25 equals 0? You could have. And this is perfectly good too. I'm happy with both options. It would factor into X plus 5 and X minus 5, Would that give me the same answers? It does, okay? So go with whatever your brain sees because that's what's easiest for you. Okay, you have homework and work time to be working, okay? Checking, make sure that other pieces are caught up is good. Lesson 4.5 is out there and available now. Remember, I'm not here tomorrow. Because I'm not here tomorrow, I have put 4.5 as due on Friday. That way, if there's questions you want to ask or things you want to check on with me, you can do that. Okay? Tomorrow, I expect good behavior with the sub, yes? I'll remind you of this at the end of the class, but I expect good behavior. You will have anything in Savas you need to work on, which for some of you is a lot, for some of you is little. And then I will have the chapter review worksheet left to hand out. Test is next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on which way I decide to go with it. Okay? Leaning towards Tuesday is where I'm leaning, so we'll see what happens. Okay.